rushed. We'll have Councilman Guancho. Councilman Guancho, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We're going to start. We have a quorum. Councilman Cochran contacted me, had a family matter that he's not able to be here this evening. So we have one agenda item and 3 applications for the board's consideration this evening. And I'll begin with item 1, an authorization for supervisor to enter into a license agreement with Thomas Novelli Contracting Corp. For non-exclusive use of a portion of Central Islip Highway Yard, known by the address 295 Carlton Avenue in Central Islip. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. So we will start with the first application, TC 5419 D&G Realty Ventures. Madam Clerk, if you would please read the hearing notice.
TC 5419 D&G Realty Ventures LLC. Applicant requests a change of zone from Business District, Business 3 District, and Industrial 1 District to all Downtown Development District in order to construct a mixed-use building consisting of 9,900 square feet of commercial space and 140 senior apartments and 9 non-age restricted townhouses. Site plans are required of this application, and the environmental impacts will be assessed on this property located in the Bay Shore School District on the north side of Union Boulevard between 2nd and 3rd Avenue, Bay Shore, Town of Islip, Suffolk County, New York. Islip Town Board, Olga Murray, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Olga. I see the applicant is ready if you wish to proceed. Should be. Could you check on that, please? But why don't you start while he's checking? I think we can hear you.
At 5 Shore Lane, Bay Shore, New York. Thank you. Good evening again. So this evening we're here to present an application for a change of zone. The current existing property, which as read in the meeting notice, starts on 3rd Avenue, runs north to the Long Island Railroad tracks, continues in an eastbound direction to 2nd Avenue, and then runs north 4 houses to the north, leaving an additional 4 houses remaining to the train station. The entire property is just over 5 acres. The existing underlying zoning is business 1, and industrial. The current use of the property is predominantly a fence company that provides wholesale and retail fence operations and a significant amount of outdoor storage and shipping and transportation that goes inconsistent with the operation that they have. They've been there for many years. They're spread out across the property with approximately 7 structures. The rest of the entire consolidated parcels include 7 additional houses and a commercial building on the corner of 3rd Avenue and Union Boulevard. The general appearance of all the properties and of all the structures and the property is poor. The homes are rental homes. They're non-occupied homes that have not been very well maintained, but and have multiple tenants in them. The application is significant in the sense that these homes were all acquired over many years. So when we got involved, we didn't have to do a consolidation or chase parcels. That's why we were able to get everything in one application, and that's significant because it gives us the most opportunity to transform this area. And that is exactly what the Downtown Development District zoning is intended to provide, and that's the zoning that we're seeking for this application. Under the Downtown Development District zoning, Some of the key points are to provide broader range of housing choices, to facilitate pedestrian circulation and access to transportation, shopping, recreation, and other amenities, and to promote adaptive reuse of older structures and redevelopment of blighted sites. I think everyone that we've spoken to would agree that this property really is a textbook example of why the downtown development district was put in place in the first instance, and how this property is such a perfect fit for it. In terms of how we came about for the use, we were very passionate about continuing the redevelopment of the downtown Bayshore area that's been going on for some time now. As a result of that, those initiatives, the Main Street Bayshore has strengthened and is doing very well. There are wonderful restaurants and shops that are thriving. It thrives in a moderate way. We have restaurants, we don't have bars. So at 10, 11 o'clock at night, the town starts to slow down. And that's a wonderful thing for the residents who live in and around the town. If you are a resident that lives anywhere within proximity of the downtown Bayshore, you've seen an appreciation of your home asset just as a result of having a strong downtown. And we are very proud to have taken part of that revitalization, and we're looking forward to continuing if this application is approved. One of the things that we decided early on was in presenting this application that we wanted to make it a senior housing development. We feel that's a very underserved market in the downtown area. We feel that with the amenities that are in downtown Bayshore, restaurants, shops, parks, recreation, ferries to Fire Island, we think it's an amazing place for this type of development, and that's why we feel very comfortable presenting it as a senior application. That would be different than most of the development that has taken place over the last 10 years. Although those developments have done well and have been well received and remain highly occupied, we are very comfortable that a senior project is appropriate at this time. In addition to a large component of the project being a senior rental, we have also broken out a small portion of it to be owner occupied, and those owner occupied units will occur on Second Avenue, which is the single family or detached. I shouldn't say single family because most of the homes there are multifamily, but they exist in single unit dwellings. And so we broke the density down and put owner occupied units on Second Avenue. And we have a commercial component of 9,900 square feet, which has been designed and calculated for parking as medical. This project presented to you tonight is actually a little bit smaller than the project that was presented and approved at the planning board. Planning board approved 156 rental units with 14,000 square feet of commercial space. This project presented tonight has been scaled down to 140 apartment units, 9 owner occupied units, and just under 10,000 square feet of commercial space. The entire project is parking compliant. We're not seeking any waivers. We do provide an affordable component of 20% as required under the Downtown Development District. And within that 20%, we are dedicating or setting aside a percentage of those units for individuals with intellectual disabilities. This is something that has recently been adopted by Suffolk County, and it's a conversation that will be continuing beyond this application, probably from municipality to municipality. Once again, the town of Islip has an opportunity to be on the cutting edge of these types of housing initiatives. The purpose of providing units for intellectual disability and other types of disabilities is to create a semi-independent living environment. This would be done in conjunction with a housing agency or a program agency that would be the guiding force and provide the screening and assist with applicants to see if they're a good fit for this type of project. My company is currently partnered with Autism Communities, and we have this activity going on 3 of our properties in the town of Islip, and we're looking forward to, if this is approved, to continuing that in this project. I am here for questions if you have any to me. And if not, I have our traffic consultant and our architect available. And I'd like our traffic consultant to do just a very brief overview of how this project, as proposed this evening, is less impactful than the as-of-right zoning that could occur on the property without a change of zone. And then after that very brief presentation, the architect will make a quick presentation about the architecture and why the building looks the way it does and what we were trying to achieve aesthetically for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good late afternoon, Madam Supervisor, members of the board, council, and staff. My name is Patrick Lenahan. I am Director of the Transportation Division of VHB's Long Island office, 100 Motor Parkway, Hopog, New York. VHB was retained by the applicant to look into the potential traffic ramifications that could result from the zone change, which they are looking for from this board, as Larry described. To do so, what we looked at was the potential traffic generating capacity of a redevelopment of the site under existing zoning and compared that to redevelopment of the site under the requested zoning with the site plan that the applicant has developed. So to do that, first, we look to see if the property were redeveloped under the existing zoning, what could reasonably go there? And what the team came up with in terms of yield is a 75,000 square foot commercial building on the 5+ acre site. And the two options that we thought were valid was medical dental office and a retail shopping plaza. So we look at the trip generation potential of those two as of rights and contrast it with the trip generation potential of the proposed site plan. In both cases, the as of right of the medical office or the retail greatly outscales the proposed site plan. And my work was done before the proposed site plan was reduced slightly, as Larry described, a few less apartments and a little less commercial square footage. But as traffic engineers, you probably hear us talk all the time. We look at the AM commuter peak, the PM commuter peak, and the Saturday midday peak. Looking at the commercial potential, there is trip generation in the morning of between around 250 vehicles on both of those commercial options, and the proposed site plan would give us less than 80. So clearly, we're a reduction in the PM, depending on medical office or shopping plaza. We range between 300 and 675 trips for that 75,000 square foot building. And the proposed site plan gives us 95, just under 100. So again, clearly a large difference in traffic generation potential. On Saturday, medical office is roughly the same as the morning, a little bit under 250, almost 700 for the shopping plaza. People like to shop on Saturday. And our multi-use development comes in again at 93, less than 100. So the conclusion is the proposed rezone with the town to grant it and the site plan proposed to be built clearly would generate less traffic than some of the reasonable redevelopment alternatives under the proposed zoning. In addition, the site, if you're familiar with it now, is composed of several parcels, and there are a number of driveways that bring the site on 3rd, 2nd, and Union, and those will be consolidated down to 2, which is always a good idea for traffic flow and efficiency. That's my presentation. If you have any questions, otherwise, I can take them later too if you have any. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Sean, do you want to come forward with the department's presentation on this particular application, please?
Sure.
Please put your-
Sure. Sean Colgan, Town of Islip Planning Department, 655 Main Street, Islip, New York. Sure, it's SEAN COLGAN. Thank you Supervisor Carpenter, members of the board. Mr. Gargano summarized the application pretty nicely, but again, just to reiterate some points, this does qualify for the Downtown Development District. The uses Mr. Gargano is proposing will provide more synergy and benefits for downtown Bayshore. It will remove a blight from the area while providing a more diverse housing product in contrast to the predominantly non-age restricted apartments that are commonly proposed in downtown Bayshore. And also this is probably the first parking compliant application in Bayshore that I've ever seen here. So parking should not be a concern at all. So with that, I'm here if you have any questions.
Well, kudos to everyone that came in with a parking compliant application. We much appreciate that. And it's obvious from the fact that the project's been scaled down that you guys worked very closely with the applicant. And the home ownership component, I think, says a lot for the overall appeal of this kind of a project. Does anyone have any questions for the department at this point? Comments?
Yes, actually, it's for the owner of the project. He indicated, correct me if I'm wrong, 20% of the units are going to be dedicated to intellectual disability
10%.
individuals?
So there's 20% affordability component.
Oh, okay.
Of that 20%, the 10% would be set aside for individuals with developmental disabilities.
All right, great. Thank you.
Madam Super.
Sure.
I
John?
just want to say,
Councilman Lorenzo?
yeah, I just want to say, I commend the developer for the 10% of the intellectual disabilities autism. It's close to my heart, and I think it's well needed on Long Island and Suffolk County and town of Islip, and I appreciate you doing that on most of your projects, so thank you for that.
Any other comments for the department?
Sean, I'm sorry, Mayor.
No, sure. Go ahead.
Dealing with a bunch of different versions, so I want to make sure I have the right one. But there is a park fee component of this application.
Correct.
The covenants and restrictions.
Yes.
And what is that?
It's $1,250 per apartment unit or its townhouse unit.
This is 149.
Correct.
149 by 1250.
Yes.
Are there any other questions or comments for the department? Thank you, Sean. No one has signed up to speak on this public hearing. If there are no other questions or comments for the applicant, are there any for the applicant? Okay, hearing none, I would like to make the motion to close the public hearing, adopt a negative deck, and approve the application. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to item 2 on the agenda, TC 5420, Jamie Winkler. Madam Clerk, if you would please read the hearing notice.
Certainly. TC 5420, Jamie Winkler. Applicant requests a modification of covenants and restrictions associated with TC 0470 in order to permit a two-family residence. The environmental impacts will be assessed on this property located in the Bayshore School District on the north side of Union Boulevard, approximately 280 feet west of Community Road, Bayshore, Town of Islip, Suffolk County, New York, Islip Town Board, Olga Murray.
Thank you, Olga. You may proceed.
Thank you. Jamie won't be presenting tonight. I'm the owner, Mike Murtha. I'm not Jamie Winkler.
Okay, well, that was the information we had.
Oh, of course, yeah, I
You
knew that.
don't look
yes.
anything like her.
My name is Michael Murtha, M-U-R-T-H-A, 1100 Prospect Avenue, West Islip, New York. So I purchased a piece of property, 87 Community Drive. On or about 1950, 87 Community Drive it did have legal two-family status. At the time, covenants and restrictions were placed on that property to accommodate a doctor's office. The entire street and surrounding community is residential. And I'm requesting a modification of covenants and restrictions to allow a legal two-family residence that would be more consistent with the neighborhood.
Okay, are there any questions or comments for the applicant at this time? Sean, if you would come forward.
Sure. The property was rezoned to resident CAA by the town board back in the 60s without lifting the covenant, limiting it to an office use. So this proposal would simply eliminate a non-conforming use and replace it with a conforming use and with a conventional residential appearance. So it won't look like an office. It should, for all intents and purposes, look like a single-family home. So we think this is a better use for this area.
Okay, and I'm assuming that there's adequate parking to accommodate two families?
There's more than adequate parking in the rear.
Are there any questions for the department? Okay, again, no one signed up to speak on this, so are there any questions or comments for the applicant? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing and adopt the resolution. Motion to close the public hearing and move on to adopt the resolution.
And adopt a negative declaration.
Negative.
Right. Thank you. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Guardone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we will move to our third application this evening. That being TC 5421, Christine Collins. And Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the hearing notice.
Certainly. Today's last hearing is TC 5421, Christine Collins. Applicant requests a change of zone from Industrial 1 to Residence A in order to reconstruct a single-family dwelling. The environmental impacts will be assessed on this property located in the East Islip School District on the southeast corner of Hawthorne Avenue and Laurel Avenue, East Islip, Town of Islip, Suffolk County, New York. Islip Town Board, Olga Murray, Town Clerk.
You may proceed.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Thomas Floor, the architect for the project. The intent of this application is to request a change of zone from the Industrial 1 to Residence A in order to reconstruct the single-family dwelling. The current Industrial 1 zone property received a variance in 1963 to erect a single-family dwelling. I believe there was a subdivision at that time creating the parcel. Since then, the property has been maintained as a single-family residence. The surrounding area is primarily all residential in use, zone residential, business 1, and one other industrial lot. To the north is a large right-of-way, approximately 60 feet to Hawthorne Avenue. And as you may be aware, residential use in an industrial zone has since been removed from the code. For the homeowner's intentions and the benefit to the entire surrounding community, I feel it would benefit all to change the zone from Industrial 1 to residential. Or if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Any questions at this point? All right. Hearing none. Sean, please, if you would come forward.
B as in boy, L-O-R-E.
This rezoning would remove what we feel is inappropriate industrial zoning within a neighborhood overwhelmingly characterized by single-family dwellings. We wouldn't want to see any more industrial zoning. It probably shouldn't have been there to begin with. So we support this application.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Again, no one signed up to speak on this, and if there are no other comments or questions for the applicant, I would entertain a motion to move the resolution.
I make a motion to close the public hearing, issue the negative declaration, and adopt the resolution.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. And there are no other resolutions that come before us. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadron. All those in favor? Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.